Hey everybody, I got the Kaiju Stragmalos done. Um, yeah, I would have had it done earlier on, but frankly, I wasn't happy with it. So I just kept trying different things, especially with his eyes. I kept redoing his eyes. And yeah, I finally gotten to a point to where I'm happy with it. I think it turned out pretty well, especially the eyes. The eyes, they look a lot better now, for sure. I was gonna say because originally, it was almost like a Godzilla '98 style, just pure orange, and then I changed it over to sort of a magenta color, and then I added the black dot in there to kind of work for the main part of the eye. But then, see, that didn't look real enough. Like, that didn't make it look alive. So then I did a yellow with a black pupil. Or I did a yellow iris with the black pupil. And frankly, it looks a lot better. Looks Gives him a lot more personality. Almost kind of like almost like an animalistic type look in his eye. Like kind of like sort of indifferent. Like focused. He's focused, but he's not really much thought going up in there. Kind of just instinctive, or god damn it, sorry, instinctively driven. Not really much malice or hatred or anything. Just kind of territorial and ready to fight. I think there's a chip right in the bottom in there. Yeah, I know this is kind of nasty looking. Frankly, if I thought about it, I would have made like sort of a cover for his neck. But on the bright side, it can articulate. So, you gotta trade off a little bit of looks for some articulation. I don't mind that. Speaking of articulation, he can open and close his mouth, as I just demonstrated. Like I said, his neck moves. And then for his arms, well, he has the Playmates King Kong for the base of the arm, so all that moves. So you got that. His wrist moves. So actually, if I wanted to, I could get him in sort of like a position where he's eating. So something like that, have him shoveling food into his mouth. I don't know why that just happened. That's weird. Must have pushed back on it a little too much. Get rid of that bump while I'm at it. I just cover it back up. Honestly, when it comes to these sorts of figurines, a lot of that kind of stuff's gonna happen, and there ain't no reason to freak out about it. Like I got some blue paint, got a stick, can easily fix it, and everybody's like, "Oh no, the paint chips! Oh my God, what will he ever do?" That's what I'm gonna do. Just like that, it's fixed. Oh yeah, I'm right within the creak of his neck there. It's fixed. Oh yeah. Oh, and there's another spot right there. Fixed. See what I'm saying? And then, you wait for it to dry, and then you put some either Mod Podge or some clear coat or whatever you desire, and then you're good to go. I mean, everybody's like, man, I got a scratch on my figurine. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You just get some paint and you cover it back up, and you use the appropriate stuff to spray or paint it on there or whatever whatever you wanna do. So, anyways, on to the paint job. Frankly, I wasn't really sure what I wanted out of him originally. I'd say at first I kind of just figured I would do something like the Armadon from Primal Rage, which actually my buddy Denny told me about its name in the comments. Thanks, Denny. I appreciate it. It was Armagon or Armadon, something like that. But then I was like, well, not really. I still want this to be my own beast, still want it to be from my own brain rather than it just being a carbon copy. Because, that is what it is, it is my own creation. that just happens to be similar to the Armadon from Primal Rage. Um, so from that point on, I experimented a little bit. I slathered him in some blue paint, which you guys might have seen from the short I did on his tail being an excellent kickstand. Still is, by the way. Um, and honestly, I rather like the blue. It reminded me of a blue lobster, and from that point, I kind of just used the blue lobster as my reference. And then from these colors, I just kind of thought about it. I was like, what would look good on here? What would look good on there? You know, and at some point, I tried doing like a lightning kind of effect on the top of his crest here. What I did was I took sort of like, this is, by the way, this is like ocean breeze or ocean spray, what it's something ocean mixed with white. And so originally all this was red, and I kept trying to get it to look like lightning going through, and it just didn't work. You know, it kept bleeding in to the point to where it changed the whole color of the crest into this sort of like light kind of purpley mixture. Almost looks like stained glass. But so from that point on, I was like, all right, well, since it's kind of not cooperating with me, I'll try something else. And so I did this sort of God of War Kratos kind of markings on the sides of his frill here. And I think, honestly, I think that looks a lot better. I think it gives him kind of that right character, kind of chaotic, you know, like if he was a villain, which if I had to choose him in a movie, I'd probably choose him as like a King Kong villain, since he don't really have no special kind of powers. Um, Although if I had to give him any powers, he got like these holes in his chest. Yeah, he got these holes right here, and he got these holes in the back of his neck. Honestly, if I had to give him any sort of powers, I'd give him like some wind powers or something. Like he can control like bursts of air from his body, and it could either shoot him forward or backward. Actually, yeah, why not? That could be his power, you know? Because, I mean, it's not too crazy, and I figure, I mean, he's still mostly how do you say, melee, is that what people say? He still physically attacks his opponents, he don't really use beams or nothing. Nothing really wild like that. I mean, honestly, in terms of the backstory for this guy that I got so far, he was dug up somewhere in Dubai, and they set depth charges around the area to help excavate, and the shockwave pretty much woke him up, and from that point, his mouth just opened right there. He was like, really? But yeah, no. So yeah, the depth charges woke him up from the ground, and he kind of went on a rampage, and then migrated through the ocean all the way to Arizona, where he ended up running into the Red Rock Rex. They had a battle, and Stragmalos won the fight, and kind of just wandered off. Just wandered off from that point. He went off to the Amazon rainforest and settled down there. His feces ended up creating more of a more kaijuified environment, with the trees and other plant life growing from his excrement, and becoming larger, expanding the oxygen supply, and thus far kind of making everything else in the world start to get bigger, and ironically eliminating most of the danger of global warming in his universe. More or less, anyway. I guess the only drawback being that every time people would try to harvest any logs from the rainforest, he would destroy them. He would sniff them out, and he would, he would pretty much put a stop to that pretty quick. And for those who want to see the Red Rock Rex, just give me a minute, I'll go grab them. Here's the Red Rock Rex for anybody who was wondering what that looked like. Pretty much just a big kaiju tyrannosaur of sorts that's two-headed. Kind of like the two-headed Gaw from Kong or King Kong of Skull Island. Almost like that beast. Kind of got some like dorsal fins here. I did this guy a while back. I actually did him with car paint. That's how far back that I did them. That and this head is a female, and this head is a female, or sorry, this head is a female, and this head is a male. That's what I meant to say. So it's more of a them than a it. But you'd still say it. I mean, it's still a creature, you know. But yeah, pretty much these two battled it out, which, yeah, wasn't really much of a fair fight. This guy kind of just clobbered them until they ended up retreating. Ended up going into the Grand Canyon and making a burrow there until Stragmalos finished his rampage. But for the moment that they did fight, it was a decent little scrap, you know. A lot of biting on their part, and a lot of swinging and bashing on his part. You know, these two did a kangaroo kick and knocked him into a part of the canyon, and he used some of his wind bursting abilities to blast himself out, and that, and along with his giant arms, managed to climb out for the parts that he couldn't shoot himself through. But yeah. As for more about this guy's design, let me set the Red Rock Rex down there. For anybody who would like to see more about the Red Rock Rex and pretty much its backstory, let me know. Yeah. So, this, what was it? Right. I want to talk about the pattern. So now this kind of pattern, it's almost like a candy cane of sorts. Like it kind of goes through here. It starts off a lot redder than most of it. And it kind of goes through here. And it kind of just winds around randomly through the horn. His arms are flapping around while I'm doing this. And yeah, you guys get the idea. It's kind of like a candy cane of sorts. It kind of just does its thing, you know, it kind of wraps around to the end. And honestly, I do like that it does that. Yeah. As for the parts that I used to make this guy, I used an Indominus Rex for the thumb here, and then I used Therizinosaurus hands for this part, and then the other fingers were just kind of, I just kind of sculpted them from Culk. And then, of course, the main base was a Playmates Kong, you know, for articulation and just the general body. The main head was a Triceratops head that I ripped off its body a little while back, and from that point on, I just kind of stuck it in there, and it surprisingly has articulation, which works great for me. Pretty much what happened to its horns was I cut them off, and then I resined them together to make this giant nasal horn. And then I gave them sort of just like these wild, like frilly crests, which honestly I think they look very nice. I like how they turned out. Kind of gives them a unique look. That and like the giant tusks jetting out of the side of his face, with like their little spots and stuff that they got on them. You know, I was just trying to go for something wild looking. And I don't know why. The colors here, with the orange and the blue, kind of reminds me of the Adventure Force logo, which I don't know much about that. All I know is that I bought a few dinosaur tubs that had that logo on there, and I was like, man, it's kind of funky. As for the forest green on his chest here, running around his body, honestly, that just came from the fact that I have a little jar of forest green left from when I made the Melantauga. And I'm actually saving the green for when I do my Kappa figure. I made a custom Kappa. Kind of a Kaiju-ified version, just kind of like my own design. I actually want to make quite a few Kappas. But that's on a different note. So yeah, that's the, oh yeah, right. His legs were a hippo. I think I already mentioned that in the last video, but there they are. And then his tail. His tail is a wire, and it does kind of do that when you're turning it, like the caulk shows for a second on the inside, which honestly I don't care. It's fine. It just helps it out when you're trying to do stuff for it with like photography and all that. And I'd love to do some photography with this guy. I want to have him fight Kong. Once I get Kong, like, and some of his weapons made and his third head, I'd love to have Kong battle it out with Stragmalos. They're a pretty decent size match. Let me see if I stand Kong up here. Let me see how much is Oh yes, that's a good size comparison right there. That'd be one hell of a fight. And no, that's pretty much just for whenever I get Kong in a fighting condition, or whenever I get Kong completed, because I have his head somewhere around here that I was working on. Can't remember where I just sat it at, but I'll get it eventually. Either way, just gonna take a while for me to do that, because, you know, I gotta sculpt out the teeth and everything. You know, because God forbid they couldn't just bother to give him 3 distinct heads when, you know, because apparently they think $60 ain't enough money. It's like, what the fuck, man? The Mezco Kong is twice this guy's size, and he's $40. It's like, what the hell? You know, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really approve of that, but, you know, hey, I found him at a Target, and I was like, hey, why not? You know, which is a nice figure, but Jesus, really, like $60, and they can't even give you a fucking growling head? It's unbelievable. And then they'll be like, oh, well, they just released the new exclusive that's $90. I said, you guys go fuck yourselves. The reason why I don't even like SH Monster Arts, they just charge you too much for not enough quality. It's just a big load of horseshit, if you ask me. But, you know, hey, whatever. I'll definitely do a fight scene between them two when they're both properly prepared and all that. In the meantime, oh wait, here's the head. here's the third Kong head I'm sculpting. I'm kind of just trying to take my time with it, get the proportions right and the size, and then I have to paint it. And oh god, when I paint it, that's gonna be a whole nother thing. But anyways, yeah. There's the Kaiju Stragmalos. I gave you guys pretty much just a short background about his history, and, you know, as for what he is, I don't know. I mean, you guys, he's a kaiju, so try to be mysterious. But yeah, if I had to give him any kind of origin, maybe he's like some sort of, he's like a burrowing ceratopsid of some kind that got mutated at some point by nuclear runoff. That makes sense. Kaiju-wise, it makes sense. In real life, it makes no fucking sense. It's not what radiation does. But hey, you know, I'm the one who likes it. You know, who likes the kaiju stuff. You know, you gotta accept the wild and nonsensical backstories that a lot of them have. You know, you just kind of gotta accept it. But yeah, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a all-around look of the guy before I turn off here. I think he turned out pretty nice all around. Like I said, I'll probably get some Mod Podge or something on them bits that I painted or that I covered up there. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video, which you guys voted will be the female Kong figure, the Tegu Kong specifically. I forgot to put that in the poll. It's a Tegu Kong. From the King Kong of Skull Island franchise, which is probably one of my favorite renditions of Skull Island. That's pretty great. That and the Peter Jackson's one, clearly. Anyways, I'll see you there, and take care, everybody.